Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about Season 4 of Castlevania, the final season of the animated epic that is Netflix's Castlevania show. Which, if you haven't been keeping up with the vlogs we've been making, I don't remember which of our channels we put it up on, but you got to check out our other vlogs because we fucking love this show.
Oh, yeah.
And if you haven't, if not watching our vlogs, you gotta watch the show.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is, this is season 4. It is the final season. It's gonna be really hard to talk about without spoilers. We're gonna do our best for a couple minutes, but it's gonna be really hard because this is the culmination of the entire show.
Yeah, so. It's a culmination of like 4 years of show.
Absolutely.
You
and
know?
It's a show that we utterly love because it is just full of sex, violence, and gore and cursing and horror.
Yeah. Well, it's without a doubt the best video game adaptation that exists at the moment.
Oh God, yeah. Because even like the best video game movies, nothing reaches the level of competence that this show is. Because
not at all.
I'm not okay. This is gonna feel like an exaggeration, but I swear I'm not exaggerating. Like, this show, Game of Thrones is Castlevania.
It does, yeah. And it's not hard to see how, because the lore of Castlevania kind of does lend itself to that.
It's a shorter show, and the episodes are shorter, and so, like, it's not as long as Game of Thrones, but it does the same kind of, like, epic mythologizing where you're following more of a system of characters as opposed to individual characters. Like, at the beginning, you're kind of following Trevor Belmont is your kind of your protagonist, but as the story goes on, it becomes about all of them, not just one of them.
Well, actually, if you really want to go for it, the beginning is all about Dracula and his wife.
That's true too.
And Trevor doesn't show up until the end of the episode.
That's a really good point. You know, like much like Game of Thrones, which is more about the system, and because it's about the system, it's about all the characters.
Yeah.
This show has a similar vibe. It's about all these characters, and so this season is watching every character that we've watched up until this point reach their culmination point.
Yep.
The culmination of their 4-season-long journeys.
Yeah. And whatever is, and basically the moment of that transformation.
Some things that I can talk about without the spoilers that I really like is that Trevor and Sifa continue to be #couple goals.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I can't get enough of these two together just being adorably bitchy to each other.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it other than a playful antagonism.
Yeah. Well, it's that whole, like, when you love somebody, there's an aspect where I don't know how to put it, but there's an aspect of acknowledging somebody and judging them without judging them. Yes.
Well, it's that, like, I am acknowledging and criticizing you for your flaw, but I love you anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's also manifests in the show through a lot of banter. And this season, last season they were pretty bantery, but I feel like they're even more bantery this season.
Well, this is where it all counts.
Yeah,
this is where it all counts because we're making the final statements.
Two of the characters that I gotta be honest, in season 1, I was interested in them, but like they were kind of like. Every time I would cut to them, I would low-key want to cut to one of the other characters that I was more interested in. But by the end of the show, they became two of my most interesting characters for me. The characters I am almost more invested in now. And that's Isaac and Hector.
Yeah.
Like, season 1, I was just like, oh, why are we looking at these two? Like, they're cool and all, but I want to see Dracula. I want to see Trevor.
Yeah, you want to see Dracula and Trevor, Alucard, do shit.
But by the time we get to season 4, we're watching Trevor and, like, Sifa and Alucard, and I'm like, but wait, what about Hector and Isaac? You know, because...
Yeah, because they're Isaac in particular, his journey is so weird.
Man.
His journey is so weird, like... His journey is
philosophical journey.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know how to say it, but his is the journey of an outsider who is a slave in Europe, then is an outcast, and then travels the world, and for lack of a better way of putting it, discovers Islam.
Yeah. He's interesting because he has this, like, massive philosophical journey. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Over the course of the show, there's a lot of blood, guts, and, like, monsters involved. But at the core of it, his journey is just purely philosophical.
Yeah.
You know, it's in his head.
Even though he's like killing people left and right.
Absolutely. You know, and then you got Hector, who kind of started off as like this really like kind of uninterested.
I just hate all humans.
Kind of child. And by the end of it, he's kind of like weirdly, through becoming someone's slave, found his true self and his confidence. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very odd.
But it works. Yeah. You know, and also there's like a weird twisted romance involved with it over the course of the show, which is really, really fucking cool. And that reaches a culmination in this season too. I also really like the evolution of Alucard, because if you've been watching the previous seasons up to this point, after season 1, Alucard just basically becomes this really lonely boy who stays in his castle, and like people come to him, but like he like
people come to him, but they're always either trying to steal shit from the castle or kill him.
Yeah, and so like I think it was season 3 where he had this whole subplot where he had these 2 people that came to him. They asked for his guidance on how to slay vampires, and then they fell in love with him, and he had like a polyamorous fucking
they were gonna have a big orgy scene and everything was gonna be cool, but then it turns out that was a ruse to try to kill him.
Yeah, and so now he he's reached this point at this season where he's like, I'm now just like my dad. I've impaled people in front of my castle.
He just puts people on sticks in front of his castle because he's just like, look, stay the fuck away. It's like, hey, I'm here to take your shit. All right, I guess I'll just kill you then.
This whole season is about him learning to care about people again, learning to trust again, and I really like that journey.
Yeah.
Lonely boy learns to be unlonely. Alucard is fucking adorable in that way.
Yeah.
Like, he is the most powerful character in the show besides the villains.
Yeah.
And he's like one of the most powerful characters on the show, but he is also just a sad emo boy on the inside.
Well, yeah, like that's the thing about Alucard that makes him so great and interesting is he is so powerful, but he's also emotionally incompetent. Mm-hmm. You know, like
absolutely,
he's the ultimate teenage boy.
We also see the return of some characters from previous seasons that we didn't expect to return. One of which being Charlemagne. Is that his name?
Wait, Charlemagne?
Is it Charlemagne?
Saint Germain.
Saint Germain, sorry. Saint Germain, my bad. Saint Germain. And we're not going to tell you here. We'll get to the spoilers and tell you how he comes back. But he comes back after his venture into the
Infinite
Corridor from the previous season. And his journey goes in a direction I did not expect. So I was pretty shocked by that.
And if some of you are Castlevania fans, but you don't recognize the name of Saint Germain, that's because a lot of the games that he was in were on the fucking Super Game Boy.
We also get the introduction of 2 new vampires. Varney. Not Vlad. Vlad is obviously Dracula, but Varney, as in Varney the Vampire.
Yeah.
One of the original OG vampires of vampires that I'm pretty sure predates Dracula, right?
Yes, he does. Yeah, he predates Dracula by about 70 years.
So we have Varney the Vampire, and I think his name's Ivan? Is that the other vampire?
I don't know if it is Ivan, but it should be.
Oh, he feels like an Ivan.
He feels like an Ivan.
He's this Russian vampire that is just a cold-hearted killer. Like, complete Russian stereotype.
Oh, maybe the joke is that he's Ivan the Terrible?
Oh, maybe.
You know, it's
I feel real bad. If his name isn't Ivan, my brain was calling him Ivan the entire show.
Well, it's yeah.
Feel free to comment below and let me know what his actual name is. But yeah,
like because for most of the season, he's just that guy Malcolm McDowell is always calling a shithead, you know.
We also get some more human characters. One is this woman who is trying to protect her village from monsters. Another one is another woman who is trying to protect her king from monsters, but there's weird twists and turns there.
Yeah.
She's kind of ignoring the people and just protecting the royal court, which causes problems.
Yeah.
And that character is pretty interesting. Okay. We're going to get into the spoilers soon, so before I get to the spoilers, this 100% culminates everything from the previous seasons. It is a satisfying ending.
Oh, it's super satisfying, yeah.
It is action fucking packed. If you thought any of the previous seasons were slow, you're not going to feel that this season.
Yeah, it moves pretty briskly.
It moves pretty briskly, even though every episode has like one scene that is just two people talking about philosophy.
Yeah.
Every episode has one. And it's like usually like a 10-minute scene, right? But then the rest of the episode is just nonstop action most of the time.
They really did a great job of balancing those two aspects.
Oh, that also reminds me, the culmination of the Vampire Sisters.
Carmilla Strega, the other one, and Lenore.
Yeah.
I forget
the other one's name too. Feel free to comment below. I'm probably going to be too lazy to add it in post because I just want to get these vlogs out. But we also get the culmination of their storylines and their eventual clash with another character.
Yep.
But anyway, this show perfectly wraps up everything. I know that Netflix is thinking about making more shows in this universe, but I'm almost hesitant for them to do that because this is so perfect.
There's like nowhere to go but down.
And also, okay, elephant in the room. Warren Ellis, right?
Oh yeah.
Warren Ellis wrote this show, and he's a very famous comic author. Made a lot of shit that I love, a lot of shit that Jack loves.
Yeah, definitely.
He's recently been outed as kind of a piece of shit to women in the industry. Not just like the way he treats women, but also trying to like ruin women's lives
and shit.
And careers. Yeah. So the chances of him coming back for a show like this are very slim, and he probably shouldn't. But that also makes me worry.
That also means that, look, everything about this that works as Warren Ellis all fucking over it.
The dialogue, the themes, the narratives, it feels like a Warren Ellis comic.
Yeah, and I don't know if someone trying to imitate that is going to be able to bring that same thunder.
Exactly. That's why I almost feel like I know you're making more shows. I'll check them out. But I'm really worried you're not going to be able to capture this lightning bottle again.
Yeah. Like, how to put it? It's like, oh God, yeah. I'm hoping that the worst that happens is that it's like going from Afro Samurai the series to Afro Samurai the movie.
Okay, that could be tolerable.
Yeah, because like it is definitely like a little bit of a step down.
What I almost wish is that instead of doing more Castlevania shows, that they took their formula here, got like another famous comic book author or something, and then started adapting another video game.
Yeah, I could see that, but like, something like Mega Man or something like that,
Mega Man, Metroid, like what the fuck ever, like imagine like
Metroid.
Like an animated Metroid series or something.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
That could be awesome.
Like I almost wish they would do something like that and like let Castlevania be now. Though I do understand that there's probably a part of them that wants to get to Simon Belmont.
I was about to say, like, we probably at least want to do one.
I will
Simon
say
Belmont
this.
Story.
If you do Simon Belmont and do like the tone shift to because Simon Belmont's more of the gallant hero, like I'm Simon Belmont, then the tone shift might work in that case where you have a different writer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's one of my big hesitations with them continuing.
And I will say this: if they do Simon Belmont, then you know how like in this one, it was they mainly used like orchestrated versions of the music from like Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
No, like for the Simon Belmont, they have to do like the classic like Castlevania Vampire Slayer. Dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
okay, that is the one argument I can see to continue in this 100%. It's one of those like they might be able to pull it off, but I'm worried.
Yeah. Yeah, it all depends. I mean, let me put it this way. You tell me all of a sudden Grant Morrison's on board, I'm in.
Oh, I'd watch it. Yeah. Exactly. Like that's what I mean about like, hey, get some other comic book authors like the Grant Morrisons and stuff like that and do some animated shows like this. I would almost prefer it wasn't Castlevania and it was bringing some of the other authors in. Or like some of the other
video games in, yeah.
But if it's going to be Castlevania, I do think you're going to have to find someone that can match or do something so different but still works from Warren Ellis because he has such a particular voice.
Yeah.
And with that said, it is currently available on Netflix because it's a Netflix original series, and let's just move on to the spoilers.
one of the things that happened in Castlevania Season 4 is, all right, so if you're a Castlevania fan, you know that this is largely based off of Castlevania 3, Draculas Curse. Now, in Dracula's Curse, there's a fourth character called Grant Dynasty, who is like this gypsy pirate guy.
Okay.
He's a Roma pirate, and I'm not sure how that goes together, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Doesn't fucking matter. And why is he a gypsy? I don't know, because they drew him with a fucking scarf on his head.
Gotcha.
You know? And they're Japanese, and they're just not very culturally sensitive.
So is that character, basically, they made that character into that one woman who's leading those Romani?
That's
Romani?
what I suspect. Yeah. Because there's a character who's named Greta, who comes from the town of Dynasty. And I'm like, I know that Grant Dynasty is named after this location, but was the idea, well, would I rather Alucard if it ended up with should this character be male or female? You know,
I mean, it might have just been an argument of like more female characters.
Yeah. Like I could totally have seen it if it was originally intended to be a gay romance. I would have totally been like, oh, okay, Grant Dynasty and like fucking Alucard are fucking.
Because I could totally see how it might have been the same character, because she's definitely like leading a tribe of Romani people.
Yeah. No, those people are definitely coded Romani. You know, but that does also lead the question of like, well, then we've only got Sypha as a major female hero.
Yeah, well, that's why I wonder if that's why they made it a woman, because at the end where you have like the final battle between spoilers, Death and a bunch of vampires.
Oh yeah. You know how like the penultimate penultimate boss of every Castlevania game is Death? Well, he's the ultimate villain
in this one
of this. Yeah.
Because basically it turns out Death has manipulated Saint Germain into opening the infinite corridor and feeding it a whole bunch of souls in order to get Dracula back.
Yeah.
And with the goal of Dracula continuing the slaughter that he started in the first and second season, that would cause the most amount of death, with which death feeds on death.
Yeah.
And that would make Death the most powerful creature in the universe or in the planet, because he will have fed on all that death.
Yep.
And that's his goal. And so at the end you have the three characters from the first two seasons, Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor, and then you also have this new character who's kind of like Alucard's love interest, but also the leader of these Romani people that Alucard has decided to defend and protect.
Yeah, and it really does. It's odd because it feels like that feels like the place where Grant should have been. You know, so it leads you to go like, well, did they just make that character female?
Yeah.
You know, but the other weird thing is that Grant's fighting style is actually exhibited in the character that Trevor and Sypha run into.
Oh yeah,
the one who fights with the two knives.
Yeah, you have this girl who fights with two knives, who is protecting this royal court that's underneath this city, and it was the first city Dracula hit when his assault began in the first two seasons, and so this city's in complete shambles. But part of the reason why it's also in shambles is that no one has taken charge to help rebuild or help the people rebuild it. Yeah. And it turns out the reason why that hasn't happened is because this royal court that she's protecting that is hiding underneath the city, the king and queen down there are actually dead, and she's been pretending they're alive the whole time.
Yeah, because she's crazy.
She's convinced they're going to come back, and that it's like 40 chests. They're pretending to be dead, and they're going to come back eventually, but they're actually dead.
Because they have magic powers, they're royalty, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So she's been completely ignoring the people up on top who need some sort of organization or some sort of leader or something to bring them together, because they're kind of lost, and they're kind of hoping that the king's going to come back.
Yeah.
But if there's no king to come back, and no one's going to tell them that there's no king to come back, they're just kind of left in this holding pattern.
Yeah.
And so, Trevor and Sypha encounter her, and as well as Varney and Ivan.
Yeah.
And
the vampire currently known as Ivan.
Vampire currently known as Ivan, because surprise, surprise, Ivan is not actually Ivan,
Yeah.
or not Ivan. Varney.
Varney is not actually Varney.
Yeah. So, where's I going with this? Anyway, yeah, that character with the two knives is very interesting and crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, I feel like they took the character of Grant and split it into two characters. You know, because I understand why. Because like, at the center of any really good drama is really only three people. You know, and once you've got those three, adding others gets weird. You know, they could have, but I don't know. It's one of those. It is the one character that I was really surprised did not show up by name.
Yeah,
because everyone else did.
That makes sense. Yeah,
you know. Now, like I was halfway expecting, like, I gotta be honest, I was, because of the Infinite Quarter, I was halfway expecting like future Alucard to step in at some point. You know, and if you're like, future Alucard, what the fuck is that? Super Game Boy Color games, okay? You know, just, you know, yeah. So sorry, now I'm going down memory lane with those Game Boy Color Castlevania games. They're actually really good.
I most Castlevania games I haven't actually played, so my knowledge on the actual backstory is extremely limited.
Yeah, I have a lot up until we get to like not the 64, but Lords of Shadows and the ones after that. My knowledge of Castlevania is extremely
When
extensive.
we were watching the first few seasons, like when those were coming out in the last like 2 years, I was like, after the seasons, I would like briefly like read up on like the Castlevania Wikipedias to try to see what was different and what was changed and all that stuff. This season I didn't even bother because I was just like, I'm just too exhausted.
Oh well, right. At this point, look, at this point, you're either on the ride or you're not.
And it was also like this finale was just so fucking just perfectly done. And like, oh man, we haven't even talked about the culmination of Hector and Isaac, because I really love. They culminate halfway through the season. They kind of reach their ending point, really.
Yeah.
Because Isaac finally goes to enact his revenge on Hector and Carmilla, which, if you remember from the first few seasons, Carmilla convinced Hector to turn on Dracula in order to take down Dracula, so Carmilla could become, you know, the next...
The all-powerful vampire lord.
Yeah, exactly. This ended up like ruining the entire vampire takeover campaign, so she had to start anew in season 3.
Yep.
So Isaac sends his army through this magic mirror to go confront and fight Hector's army and Carmilla's army. Ends up meeting with Hector, where they basically kind of make amends. Like, it's just like...
Yeah. Like fucking Isaac rolls up on Carmilla's castle like a boss.
Yeah, because he's a fucking badass.
Boss. Yeah, he's fucking badass by this point. He's just sort of like, alright, they're gonna kill us. Nightmare creatures, take care of this. I'm going to float up to the top of the tower. Oh, get me that one soul, would you? Alright, thank you.
I'm also convinced that his creatures are just way better than Hector's.
I think they are,
because they were just wrecking Hector's creatures' shit.
Well, they're also like strangely more thoughtful.
Yeah,
like that fucking locust man who has that conversation with him about the nature of life and death.
That was such a great episode where they're just like, okay, like there's like literally just like a meditation on life and death halfway through this show, and it's Hector talking, or Isaac talking to one of his creatures.
Yeah. Who's like this fucking locust man.
Why do we exist, and why are we here? Why aren't we doing this? We were created to serve and obey. And Isaac's basically just like, no, well, maybe you weren't. Maybe.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things where it's like, usually when we have like a situation where, you know, we're the human substitutes as God, like in, like, you know, Star Trek motion picture and shit.
Yeah.
You know, or Frankenstein, where the creature asks a question that not even humanity has been able to answer, but rather than what usually happens, Isaac just straight up goes, you know what, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
One of the cores of Isaac's struggle, really, when you like break it down, is he's a former slave who now has a bunch of slaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so the question is, where am I going with this?
Yeah.
You know, I've raised this army of enslaved, undead nightmare creatures.
Where am I going? What am I going to do?
Where am I going? Where am
Yeah.
I going? And basically what he ends up concluding by the end of it is that he's going to form just basically a whole new nation of free things. And the free things are going to include creatures. They're going to
Yeah.
be free. You know? I thought that was a really cool culmination of his thing. The slave master becomes the king, but he becomes the king that is instilling
But he
freedom.
becomes the liberator king.
The liberator
as
king.
opposed to, the tyrant.
You know, but in order to do that, he first has to get through Hector and Carmilla. But what I really like about it is that it turns out Hector secretly this entire time has been working with Varney and Ivan to help bring back Dracula as in an attempt to make amends for betraying Dracula, and Isaac ends up forgiving Hector. You know, and let him go. And Hector, actually, it turns out he had this whole escape plan that was going to allow him to escape through the top of the castle and all that stuff. And he jerry rigs it so that Isaac can use it to go straight up and fight Carmilla.
Yep.
And you get this great fucking boss
fight
battle
between Isaac and Carmilla is amazing.
That is one of the best fight sequences
in
this entire show. It is amazing. And Carmilla is such a great psychotic villain. Like, this is a better Mad Queen plot than Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones,
by far.
Oh, it totally is. It's a way, it doesn't hurt that, it's not really a heel turn. Like, she's always been that bitch.
Look, here's what I like about Carmilla. She's always evil.
Yeah.
But what I like about her is as the show goes on, you understand her better.
Yeah, you do.
Like, at the very beginning, she's just an evil bitch, right?
Yeah.
But by the time you're at this season and she's talking to her sister about taking over the world and her thirst for power and all that stuff, you realize that at the center of it, at the center of her drive for power of total domination, is the insecurity of being a woman in a man's world.
Yes. Yeah. This is the thing she is trying to conquer. But in the words of Master Splinter, it has been turned within.
Oh yeah.
And become an unconquerable enemy.
She's essentially like a Killmonger now. You know, like she's taking it too far.
Yeah.
And so, like, I kind of like that because it's just like Carmilla. Like, I always loved Carmilla because she was always deliciously evil.
Oh yeah.
Like, when I say she's a bitch, I say it affectionately.
Oh, very affectionately.
Because I love Carmilla. She's my favorite kind of just purely mean, evil female character.
Yeah.
But like, I love that she's given way more depth than just evil for the sake of it. You know?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
And I also really like a scene later on after Carmilla is defeated by Isaac and he establishes his little freedom nation. The scene between Hector and Carmilla's sister.
Yeah.
Talking about like the sister kind of like contextualizing Carmilla and Carmilla's actions, from a woman's point of view, but also from the point of view of vampire's point of view. I just thought that was a really.
I also really loved the lesbian vampire couple.
Yes, they have this. Yeah. Okay, so like,
I forget the other one, but the one of them is named Strega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those two are they've been sent out to conquer the humans on behalf of Carmilla, and they kind of have this like. Whatever you call an existential crisis, but like it's like a war crisis. Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. It's like, okay, we got to go commit war. Wait a minute, what are we doing this again for?
Yeah.
Like, why are we doing this? What's the point of this?
What's the point of this? What's going on? Like, do we really need to? Like this is going to go on forever. Is this the life we want? And so it's basically the two of them. Like I said, every episode has a scene where two people are sitting talking about philosophy.
Yeah, and the answer that this lesbian vampire couple comes up with is, we could always just fuck off.
Yeah. That I love that moment where
it was great
because they already decided they were going to turn around and go back to the castle because this conquest is kind of
pointless,
dumb and pointless, and they're killing these people, and it's like, they're their food, but like, this is dumb. We're just
It's like going to a ranch of cows and just killing all of them, and just being like, this seems really wasteful.
Yeah.
I'm not mourning for the death of the animals here, but like, why are we doing
Not
this?
to mention, going about it this way means we're going to be in a constant state of war at all times.
At all times.
There is no end to this.
Yeah, we're never going to be able to relax.
You know.
That's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, why? Like, we were living happily and comfortably before.
Yeah.
You know? And so they already had decided to go back to the castle to be with Carmilla, but by the time they get back to the castle, Carmilla is defeated by Isaac. And like literally like explodes, and they feel her explosion when it happens.
Yeah.
A couple miles away. And there's this moment of like, should we go back and try to take back the castle? And like the lovers kind of realize like, no, or we could just go away.
Yeah, we could, I don't know, move to Italy or something.
You know,
why not?
Make a new life, just you and me, just the two of us. And it's like the most romantic shit ever.
Yeah, like... and the funny thing is that it becomes the first incident, the first example of what the show kind of demonstrates as being the answer to this quandary.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, when the fighting is done, just let it be done.
Yeah.
It's just over now, you know? Like, once Trevor fights death, he literally fights death in this thing.
Because he has a bone to pick with death.
Yeah, because he has a bone to pick. Once that happens, he's just, you know, it's just one of those, well, what is there left to do? Live?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Yeah, we don't need to fucking do this jonks forever. Well, because who wants that?
The ultimate culmination for almost every character, with like maybe Isaac as the exception. Well, actually,
even with Isaac, yeah, he just doesn't have a lover.
Seems to be some combination of love and rebuilding.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of this thing, you have Isaac, who is rebuilding this new nation that is of free creatures, his creatures, and whoever else he decides to let in.
Isaac has chosen Hermitage. He's chosen to be a hermit.
Hector wants to live with the vampire girl, but the vampire girl determines that her time is done. Like,
yeah, she does. She doesn't want to. Living with Hector would mean living in
a cage.
And she doesn't
want to.
She'd rather be dead.
You know, she goes to look at the sun for the first time and realizes it's not everything it's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
When she dies, it's kind of a great moment. So Hector decides to just be a hermit who writes books.
Yeah.
You know, so he kind of both Hector and Isaac find peace in their own way.
Yeah.
But the other characters, Alucard finds someone that he
cares about, and a people that he cares about.
Yes, that he can protect, and that he can help build a new village around his castle, and also the Belmont estate, because if you remember from the previous seasons, that's where the castle landed.
Yeah. Yeah, and he just names the new country Belmont.
Yes. You get this. At first, you think that Trevor was defeated, died when death was defeated. But then it turns out he actually lived because Saint Germain opened the portal to the Infinite Corridor before he died.
Yeah.
So he went through the portal and ended up landing right on the riverbed.
Basically sucked him body and soul into the corridor at the last minute.
Saint Germain's last action after realizing that he had fucked up and he was manipulated by death itself was to save Trevor.
Yeah.
And so you have Sifa, who's now pregnant with Simon Belmont.
Yep.
and you have Trevor, who is now a super wounded fucking warrior, and they're going to decide to settle down in the Belmont estate in the town of Belmont together and raise their kid. And you have Alucard, who now has a lover, and he's
basically gonna become the Lord of Belmont.
Yeah.
You know.
And so like it's love and rebuilding.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, it was really well done.
And this even extends to twist, Dracula.
Yeah.
Because it turns out the attempt to bring back Dracula actually works. And the two of them basically wake up in a field. Dracula
and Lisa, yeah.
Dracula and his wife wake up in a field, and they steal someone's clothes, and they go into this inn, and they're like, all right, so we're going to go rebuild a new life. We're not gonna go mess with Alucard and his people because they need closure. So we're gonna go off on our own somewhere else.
Yeah, we're gonna go off somewhere else and do something.
Love the two of them, and they're gonna go rebuild.
Yeah,
you know.
That's and I'm wondering if the idea is that Dracula builds another castle.
Maybe.
That's
also another reason why that's also another reason I'm like, oh man, do we really need like another season? Because in order for Simon Belmont to show up, doesn't Dracula have to go bad again?
Doesn't he have to be bad again? Yeah.
But he has such a happy ending here. Okay, I'm such a sucker because this entire season, all the romantic endings, like just having
they're
tearing
so
up.
good. Yeah.
I was just like, oh,
so good.
Oh man, like.
Yeah, this show ended about as perfectly as possible.
I also love the because in one of the earlier seasons, like Trevor says he loves you to Sifa, and Sifa says I know, and then at the end of this,
at the end of that,
she's like,
she says it, and he says I know. Yeah, it's like Leia and Han in reverse, but you know, Leia and Han then in reverse.
And I love that they brought it back at the very end. It was just this show. Okay, for such a gory, slimy, sleazy show, it has such a romantic as fuck ending.
Yeah. It's really well done. Like, everyone knocked it out of the fucking park. The only criticism that I have of the entire show, and this is going to demonstrate the lengths to which you have to go in order to find like a real criticism. Mm-hmm. I thought the sound mixing on the voices was a little off.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
There were some times that Alucard was a little too low in the mix.
Yeah, well, because the actor playing Alucard is very quiet.
Well, yeah.
And so you kind of feel like you kind of bump him up a little bit. But,
yeah, it feels like you should have like cranked him up a little bit more.
I know exactly what you mean, because I was having some of those troubles when we were watching it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend this show. If you've been watching it so far, you probably already watched the season and just wanted to hear our opinions on it. But if you haven't, go watch Castlevania. It ends great, so if you're worried about the Game of Thrones problem...
No. This thing ends perfectly.
It's got a great ending, so if you haven't started it yet, go watch Castlevania. It's got sex, it's got violence, it's got horror, and it's got a lot of awesome female characters, so if you're worried that the sex is getting in the way of that, no, it's not.
No, it never really... It never... That does not... Those two things do not necessarily go together.
No, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to tell you where I can be found because I got to take a whiz.
Okay.
All right, you can find me on Twitch, count_Jackula, where I stream twice a week, every Thursday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find me on Twitter, @JackSatanWave, and you can find me on Instagram, @SatanicJackula. I apologize that they're not all the same, but hey, this is the modern world, and shit just fucking happens. Where can I find you? I'm going to take a leak.
All right, y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, on Facebook. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema, and I'll be there. Be sure to check out both of our Patreon pages, and remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you made it this far into the video, then put #Castlevania in the description below so that I know that you watched the vlog all the way to the end. And with all that said, peace out, my fellow Gorehounds, and I'll catch y'all later. And I thought he was going to take a leak, but that sounded like a shit. Maybe he's shitting out of his dick.
It was its own 4-part epic.
It was its own 4-part. I'm ending this vlog. What the fuck?